Hey guys, I am so excited you're joining me today. We're going to do a really fun experiment, and this is one that you can totally do at home, but you have to ask your parents first. It involves using some food coloring, and I wouldn't want you to destroy anything of your parents. So, if you want to try this at home, ask your parents first. Let me say that one more time. Ask your parents first. Now, let's get to the experiment. The materials that we're going to need are the following. 100 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide, 7 grams of baking yeast, 40 milliliters of water. For this experiment, we're going to add a couple extra things. To the hydrogen peroxide, we're going to add dish soap and also a couple drops of food coloring. So, for this experiment, I wanted to make it just a little bit easier for everybody. So I combined the hydrogen peroxide, the dish soap, and the food coloring into this one beaker. And we're going to do the same for these two. So now, what makes this easier is that I've measured this for us already, so we don't need to go through the whole process. So the measurement for mass for the hydrogen peroxide, dish soap, and food coloring is right here. Go ahead and write this down. And the mass measurement for the yeast and water is right here. Write that down in the appropriate spot. Now the next thing we need to do, just like every other experiment, is measure the temperature of our materials. So they should be both room temperature, so let's just measure what they're at right now. Cool, let's check it out. I'm gonna add a line to help us see where the temperature's at on thermometer. Now that we have our temperature, we're ready to do the experiment. So I'm gonna take our thermometer out. Let's put it right here. And now we need some other container to combine these two mixtures. So I have this flask, and the first thing I'm going to do is pour our water and yeast mixture in here, followed by our hydrogen peroxide, food coloring, and soap mixture. Now, let's see what happens. Good time to make a prediction. Let's do it. It just keeps going and going. Now is a good time. Let's get a reading. What's the temperature in our chemical reaction? This one's a little tough to see. Our temperature reading is between 40 and 30 at exactly 35 degrees Celsius. Alright, we are done with our chemical reaction. We've cleaned up our mess. We don't need our thermometer anymore, but we do need our triple beam balance. So I have that right here. Alright, so we're going to measure the flask and the contents inside the flask. Once we're done with that, we're going to have to measure just the flask and subtract those two to figure out how much is inside. Alright, I got it. I'm going to show you guys now. The weight of the empty flask is 184 grams. Now that we have all the information we need, stop, pause the video here, go back and make sure everything's filled out. Make sure you have an idea of our findings so we can move on. You guys did a great job today, and I really hope that you enjoy this experiment. But now it's time to wrap it up. So we found that there was a change in the mass. When we ended the experiment, we had less mass in the vial than when we started. Your job today is to come up with a claim, evidence, and reasoning statement for why the mass changed. Get to work. If you have questions, email me. I'd be more than happy to help you. Keep it up.